Well, let's begin in Russia, where a Russian general has been killed in a car bombing in Moscow, with officials pointing the finger at Ukraine for the latest apparent assassination of a senior military officer, Lieutenant General Vanil Savarov, who ran the Armed Forces Operational Training Department, died after an explosive device installed under the chassis of a car exploded on Monday. Russian President Vladimir Putin was immediately informed of the death of Savarov via special services channels, according to the Kremlin. Several prominent Russians have been killed by explosive devices or shot dead in Moscow in attacks blamed on the Ukrainian security services since the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Video released by Russian state media on Monday showed a badly damaged vehicle in a parking lot in a middle-class neighborhood of Moscow. Reports say Lieutenant General Savarov had been head of the training department for 9 years. The 56-year-old had previously carried out the task of organizing and conducting an operation in Syria when Russian forces were backing the Assad regime. Meanwhile, President Zelensky says Russia launched a massive overnight attack on Ukraine using more than 600 drones and 30 missiles. At least 3 people have been reported killed across the country, including a 4-year-old child in the central Zhytomyr region. President Zelensky, while reacting, said, quote, "Putin still cannot accept that he must stop killing, and that means that the world is not putting enough pressure on Russia," end quote. Now, Chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Russia chapter, that's NIDO, Godwin Ibe, joins me to speak on these developments. Good to have you join us.
Thank you once again for having me.
So this is rather General Vanil is the 3rd general that have been killed in bomb attacks in the Russian capital over the last year. How is Russia reacting to this and analyzing it?
Well, quite clearly it's a terrorist attack, planting bomb under a car. So obviously, the other side may see it as a military strike, but it only goes to show the extent to which steps are being taken to cause unrest in Russia. And also, it goes to show that peace isn't really on the horizon, as many has postulated. And there's one thing to just say words or rhetorics, and there's another thing to show action. And what we can see is that despite the meeting between the negotiators from the Russian side and from the Ukrainian side in United States, in Europe, we can see that there's escalation. This is one of the few incidents targeting a top officer, military officer. You can expect that there will be both symmetric and asymmetric retaliation. And then that goes to show that, yeah, there's going to be escalation and peace isn't really on the horizon.
And we'll get to that point of escalation in terms of what Russia might do. We've heard from Ukraine saying that there has been overnight attack with over 600 drones and 30 missiles being used by Russia. Perhaps maybe that's one of the response to this. But I wanted to go back to something that you said earlier in terms of calling it a terrorist attack. And Collins also saying it is an escalation. You also said it's like Ukraine is not committed to peace efforts by international community. But you sound as though it is just Ukraine that has attacked Russia, even in the wake of the efforts and proposals being put forward by the US. So Russia also continues to attack Ukraine. It announced that it took 2 villages. Isn't that also an escalation in the face of peace plans?
Yes, it's a very, very logical question, but it's different. There's one thing to attack military targets and targets that are used for military purposes. For example, storage of ammunition or logistics chain in terms of that's in supply to the front. And there's another thing to plant a bomb in a civilian's car, or even a military officer, probably on off-duty that day, and planting bomb under his car. They are two totally different things, because you are not, by carrying out that attack, you are not actually preventing, you're not preventing operations, you're not preventing supply, you're just You're just bent on taking the life of one person. It's not going to change much on the war front. It's only going to be more like a media attack, and a loss, of course, to the friends, families of the victim. It's They are two totally different things. Of course, what is common in both is that it's an attack. There are loss of lives. These are the common denominator, but the aim, the scale, the purpose, and the effect are absolutely different. Now, obviously, I want peace. I would prefer that there are peace reached in the interest of both sides. But at the same time, we can see that there's also modus operandi. Even in warfare, there's modus operandi. If you notice, the Russian side isn't attacking Kiev or the governmental offices or state houses in the capital of Ukraine, or high-ranking officers, or when European leaders visit Kiev, they do not attack that particular region. They do prisoner exchanges. In every conflict, there's some rules, some minimum base set of rules on agreement on both sides, and this one
And
crosses
Ukraine
the
also
line.
continues to say that Russia is not abiding by those rules. Ukraine has also continued to blame Russia for attacking civilians. They said in those attacks and those drone attacks, rather, that some of the people who have been affected the most are children, that they lose civilians, especially children, in those attacks. But also, I will let you respond to that along with this question. We understand that one theory being investigated is that the bomb was planted with involvement of Ukrainian intelligence services. Ukraine has not commented. Any conclusion on that yet? And why is Ukraine intelligence services being suspected?
Well, if it looks like an orange, it smells like an orange, it's most probably an orange. If we take, historically speaking, if we look at the previous attacks, the Ukrainian side have claimed responsibility, and they don't usually shy away from that. So it's not a separate one-off event. It's something that's been happening, um, consistently. Well, three now, at least in recent times. Now, concerning the statement of the Ukrainian side, I'll cut them some slack. I don't know. I don't know if civilians, I was not on the ground. I don't know if particularly a civilian was attacked. But what I do see and can confirm is that most of the attacks that are done by the Russian side that I have seen with my eyes are usually military targets, mostly connected. I see, and most of the time, I see the explosions, the footage. I see secondary detonations, which are proof that there was ammo there. I see the video of the both the missile defenses, how they work and how they attack, and what time frame the explosive effect. So I'm able to make an objective conclusion as to what was inside the structure when it was being attacked. So this is how I base my conclusion when I see the footage from these scenes. But of course, they might be right. Maybe in the fog of war, and in war, there could be bystanders who are affected. There could be civilians who are affected. I'm totally not excluding that. I do not have enough information to draw a conclusion that that was the goal, to attack purely civilians, as claimed by the Ukrainian side.
So Russia is not one to shy away from retaliation anytime Ukraine strikes on any of its facilities. How do you think Russia is likely to respond? We've already seen overnight attacks. And will this have any impact on the peace plan?
Yes, it certainly would have an effect on the peace plan, like I said, and I'd said in previous meetings that I don't see the peace plan working, at least this year. But this goes further to make it worse. As you've said quite clearly, Russia doesn't shy away from retaliation, both symmetric and asymmetric, and its interest, and I suspect that there certainly will be. But what is even more concerning is the decorum, or the agreement, the baseline agreement on both sides. I don't think I would want to see more escalation or assassination of top level military officers on both sides, or for example, negotiators who are trying to negotiate peace, or the visiting of leaders who visit various from various countries, visit both Russia and Ukraine. We wouldn't want to see escalation that could lead to a third world war, or more sides joining the conflict. So definitely this will not go unanswered if we're judging from history, but at the same time, we should all want peace, wish for peace, and not want terrorist attacks that could lead to escalation of the conflict.
And the bare minimum would be a de-escalation, like you said, and a ceasefire at this point, but it doesn't look like that is likely anytime this year. Thank you so much for your time, as always, Godwin Ibe, Chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora, Russian Chapter.
Thank you so much for having me.